The message lit up my screen just as I finished tying the last ribbon on the scavenger hunt clues. Don't need you there anyway, my father texted. A thumbs up emoji followed, sharp as a slap. I stared at it. Today was my son's birthday. For 3 weeks I'd been planning, streamers taped in secret, his favorite carrot cake cooling on the counter, a scavenger hunt drawn out with careful, crooked handwriting he could follow like a little explorer. I hadn't asked for anything extravagant. Just one thing. That my parents, his grandparents, show up. Dad had told me money was tight, and I believed him. So I cut back where I could. One less pizza. No helium balloons. I told my son, it's okay, they love you. Maybe next time. He nodded, trusting me, and my heart cracked just a little. The next morning, scrolling Facebook out of habit, my thumb froze. There they were, my parents, beaming at the camera. Mountains of wrapped presents around them, golden foil balloons floating in the background. Happy birthday. My sister's 2 boys tore into toys like Christmas morning. The caption below. Nothing makes us happier than spoiling the grandkids, who truly deserve it. The words blurred. My chest felt hollow, like something had been scooped clean out of me. That afternoon, while my son quietly drew dinosaurs at the kitchen table, he glanced up with those soft brown eyes. Mom, he whispered, don't they need me too? Something inside me snapped in half, neat and final. My name is Kendra Ellison. I'm 34. And if you think you know how this story ends, stay with me. Because how do you mourn love that's still alive, but only ever one-sided? That night, I poured a glass of red wine and opened the banking app. Line after line of transactions stared back at me. Mortgage payments, insurance, holiday cash, back-to-school money, winter coats, emergency funds. For years of quiet deposits. Sacrifices nobody ever thanked me for. With one tap, I started reversing them. By 7 a.m., the pounding on my front door shook the frame. I opened it. My father stood there, face flushed, jaw trembling. Sweetheart, he began, voice raw. We need to talk. Please. I leaned against the doorframe and smiled. A thin, humorless smile. He didn't knock again. He just stood there, fists curling at his sides, lips pressed into a tight line. The same look he used to give me when I came home with an A+ instead of a perfect A. I saw what you did, he muttered. I didn't blink. You mean what I undid? His eyes flared. He stepped closer. Kendra, the mortgage, your mother's medical bills, the property taxes. We relied on that money. Calm, steady, I folded my arms. No, you relied on me. But apparently, I'm not part of this family. Remember? He scoffed, sharp and dismissive. It was one missed birthday. My voice cracked louder now. It was his birthday. My son, your grandson, sitting in a room decorated with scraps while you filled another house with balloons and toys for children who weren't even missing a thing. Silence. Not the silence of guilt, but of calculation. His expression shifted, eyes narrowing. Fine, he said. We made a mistake. But it doesn't justify sabotaging your family. I shook my head slowly. I didn't sabotage anything. I just stopped living a lie. Stopped pretending I owed you everything. His voice rose, thundering in the doorway. You don't get it. Your sister's husband is out of work. They needed that celebration. You've always been self-sufficient. I let out a bitter laugh that scraped my throat. So my punishment for being capable is to carry everyone else forever? The sunlight angled across his face, cutting lines deeper into his skin. He looked older than I remembered, not fragile, not broken. Just entitled. I'll be back, he muttered. I won't, I said, and I shut the door. Inside, I collapsed onto the couch. The cushions seemed to swallow me whole. From the hallway, my son peeked out, wide-eyed. Mom, was that Grandpa? I nodded. He hesitated. Is he mad? I met his gaze, steady and sure. Maybe, but I'm not afraid anymore. That night, my phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Missed calls stacked up, group chat notifications pinged. My mother sent strings of passive-aggressive emojis like little grenades. I ignored them all, until one number flashed across my screen. Not family, not my father. The bank. Ma'am. The voice on the other end said, tight with urgency. We have a situation. The banker's voice on the line was steady but cautious. There's been an attempt to override the mortgage account you reversed. I froze. The cosigner tried to override it? I asked. Yes, ma'am, she confirmed. Someone attempted to reset the auto payments under your name. But since you secured the account with a new authorization code, our system flagged it. A humorless smile tugged at my mouth. Not amusement, recognition. That someone, I said, was my father. Would you like to file this as fraud? She asked carefully. I hesitated, then shook my head, even though she couldn't see me. No, just make a record of it and ensure no further access. From now on, I'm the only one who authorizes changes. When the call ended, the silence that filled my apartment wasn't empty. It carried weight, power. I walked to the mirror. For years, I had stood before that glass practicing gratitude like a script, rehearsing the role of the reliable daughter, the steady one, the giver who never asked for anything in return. But this time I saw something else. A woman who had finally stopped begging for a seat at a table where the invitation was always written in gilt. My phone buzzed. A message from my sister lit the screen. Can't believe you're blowing everything up over one petty birthday. Ezra's tuition is due. What do you expect us to do? I typed, deleted, typed again. Finally, I sent. Ask the people you actually celebrated. Then I put my phone face down. The flood came fast after that. A voicemail from my mom, her voice thick with tears, blaming me for stress-induced chest pain. An email from my uncle, lecturing me about family responsibility. Even a voice note from my cousin, scolding me for hurting everyone. But not one apology. Not one mention of my son. Later, when I tucked him into bed, his voice was small. Will they come next year? I squeezed his hand. No, sweetheart. And maybe that's a good thing. Because from now on, we don't beg to be loved. We choose who gets to stay. The next morning, the doorbell rang. Through the curtain, I saw my father. He was still in yesterday's suit, his hair rumpled, his eyes shadowed with exhaustion. In his hand, a white bakery box, the same shop where I had placed my order weeks earlier. I cracked the door open but blocked the entry. It's chocolate mousse, he said, clearing his throat. His favorite, right? I stayed silent. He looked past me, searching for my son. His voice dropped. We messed up. Didn't realize how serious you were. My brow arched. Serious about what? Being respected? Or treated like I matter? He winced like I'd struck him. I brought the car seat back too, he added, voice low. You left it at the park. My chest tightened, not from gratitude, but because he'd noticed the overlooked detail, something no one else ever would. Still, I didn't move. I'm not here to guilt you, he said, voice cracking. Just to say, I'm sorry, and your mother is too. For a heartbeat, I almost believed him, until his phone buzzed. When he glanced down, I saw the text preview. She's not giving in. Say whatever you have to. Ice spread through my veins. I stepped back, my voice calm but sharp. Tell Mom thanks for the message. His face went pale. Wait. But the door was already shut. Inside, my son sat at the table, head bent, drawing quietly. The weight of his focus crushed me. He deserved a life where love wasn't something traded for obedience or sacrifice. And I swore in that moment I'd never let anyone teach him otherwise. That night, the bell rang again. I checked the peephole before opening. This time, it was my sister. Her velvet coat hung awkwardly, mascara streaks marking her face. She clutched a bottle of champagne like it was some magic fix. When I opened the door, she didn't even pretend to smile. Okay, she said flatly. We get it. You're angry. But can you stop punishing everyone now? I leaned against the frame. Punishment? You mean stepping back from a family that only shows up when they want something? Her eyes flicked toward my living room. Is that the same couch we helped you pick out? I smiled coldly. You mean the one I paid for with my own money, while you were vacationing in Greece? She blinked. Then her tone shifted, sharp and venomous. So that's it. You think you're better than us now, because you're the self-made one. I said nothing. She pressed on. Mom and Dad were just trying to keep things balanced. You've always wanted to be the outsider. You pull away, then act shocked when we don't show up. Her words spilled like old rehearsed lines, but they no longer cut the same way. Because I finally knew the truth. I hadn't abandoned them. I just stopped abandoning myself. I kept my voice steady. She stared, waiting for me to explode. Instead, I asked softly, "How's the mortgage going?" She shifted in her seat, avoiding my eyes. "You know," I went on, "that's $600 a month I covered for nearly a year. It's not mine to carry anymore." Silence. "And your promotion party next week?" I canceled the venue. It was booked on my card. Her jaw dropped. "You didn't." "I did." She stepped back like she'd been pushed. "For years," I said. "I kept paying and showing up, hoping you'd finally see me. But I'm done trying to be loved by people who only remember me when their bills come due." I closed the door gently. For the first time in years, my home didn't feel like a waiting room for approval. It felt like mine. The next day, I expected quiet. Instead, there was a knock. My father stood outside, not angry, not even defensive, just holding a grocery bag like a peace offering. Inside was a box of tea, a drooping bouquet, and a card that read, "Still family." I didn't invite him in. He shifted on the welcome mat, eyes flicking around like he wasn't sure how the world looked when it wasn't built around his rules. "I didn't know what your sister did," he said finally. "She shouldn't have said those things." "I said nothing," he added quickly. "Your mom, she's worried the family's falling apart." "So am I replied, "which is why I'm building something new, with people who don't see me as a debit card with legs." He winced. Then came the real reason. "Listen," he muttered. "Your sister's in trouble. Her husband left. And the mortgage, they can't pay it." I almost smiled, but didn't. "And now you're here for what?" "My forgiveness or my money?" "Both, maybe," he admitted. I crossed my arms. "You raised me to believe love was earned by giving. So I gave money, time, silence. You called me strong, but that only meant you felt entitled to take more." He looked down. "You never noticed when I cried or when I succeeded," I said. "You only noticed when the check cleared." He had no reply. So I stepped back and closed the door softly. The lock clicked behind him. I wasn't angry anymore, just finished. Outside, I heard him release a long breath, then footsteps retreating. For once, I didn't run after him. Not for approval, not for closure, only for peace. That evening my phone buzzed. It was my sister. No emojis, no cheerful mask. "Can we talk?" I didn't answer. Another message came. I didn't mean for it to go this far. Still, I stayed silent. Then the last one, "I'm outside." I peeked through the blinds. There she was on the curb, arms folded, mascara streaked, trying to look composed. I opened the door halfway. She walked forward without waiting to be invited. "I didn't know Dad was going to ask you like that," she said quickly. "I told him not to, but the baby—" I cut her off. "You called my son forgettable. Do you remember that?" She blinked. "And you didn't come to my graduation," I added. "But you flew to Bali the next day. Paid with what?" Her silence answered for her. I leaned against the doorframe. "You always knew I'd cover the mess. The bills, the tears, the broken promises. I was the safety net." Her voice cracked. "I didn't mean to make you feel used." "You didn't make me feel that way," I said quietly. "You used me." She began to cry softly, the kind of tears that belong to someone who has rehearsed guilt but never learned consequences. "I don't want to lose you," she whispered. But I wasn't hers to lose anymore. I stepped aside just enough for her to see the living room behind me, calm, clean, quiet, a space that reflected the life I was building without them. "I hope your daughter never has to prove her worth to be loved," I said. Then I closed the door, not out of spite, but out of mercy, because sometimes healing means protecting yourself from the people who claim to love you the most. A week later, an envelope arrived. Real paper. Shaky handwriting I recognized instantly, my father's. Inside was a single sheet. "We made mistakes. Too many. I don't know if an apology is enough, but if I don't say it now, I never will. Your mother and I failed you, and we failed him, your son. I won't ask for forgiveness, but I'm proud of the woman you've become. You deserve more. If you ever open the door again, know I'll be waiting on the other side. This time, not to take, but to listen." I read it twice, then tucked it into a drawer, not out of anger, but because healing doesn't always need witnesses. I made tea. My son sat beside me, building Lego towers in the quiet glow of the afternoon sun. "Mom," he asked, "are we okay now?" I looked at him, his eyes full of trust, of hope. "We're better than okay," I whispered. "We're finally home." There was no revenge, no fireworks, just the silence of peace, the strength of choosing who sits at your table, the freedom of knowing you no longer owe anyone the pieces they broke. My family built a home with conditions. I built mine with boundaries. They taught me silence. I turned it into clarity. And when they knocked again, I didn't answer. Not out of pride, but because the door they slammed shut behind me years ago, I no longer needed it open. I built my own, one brick at a time. For me, for my son, for the version of me they tried to erase.